The master of martial arts, whose body is a living weapon. Powerful skirmishers on the battlefield with a blend of control, damage dealing, and above all, movement and positioning. Stick around for the full class breakdown for the 2024 monk in Dungeons & Dragons. Hello everyone, and welcome to Arcana Indexed. Here, each week, we are taking a deep dive into one piece of content for the 2024 edition of Dungeons & Dragons. Normally, we go over a subclass, spells, or even full classes that have been released as Unearthed Arcana playtest options. But now, 13 episodes into this, if I'm truly to be indexing Arcana, I probably need to establish a baseline for what I'm looking for in the Unearthed Arcana documents. In order to do this, I'm going to start working my way through the official classes and subclasses that have been published for this latest edition, so we can talk about the synergy within the Unearthed Arcana subclasses with the base classes. As I'm working my way through the classes, though, whenever new UA documents come out, I'll probably break from these core classes and subclasses to talk about those, but then we'll keep working our way through the main classes. Today, we're going to start off with the Monk, mostly because they're my favorite class in the game. The first character I played for more than a few sessions, my first 3 characters died in that campaign, was a monk, and I played a Way of the Four Elements monk back in the 2014 edition, when that was probably the worst subclass of the worst class. So you know I'm not just a fair weather friend. But whether it's Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, Batman, or any one of 100 other pop culture references, the unarmed fighter has always been a staple in fantasy and fiction. Within D&D, the monk was originally a type of cleric that had extremely high stat requirements, as well as being limited to humans, though later editions it was tied to scions or mystics, and it was often tied to one class or another. It wasn't until 5th edition, as far as I've been able to find, that it became its own class. Unlike almost every other class, even until the latest edition, it sits in a somewhat unique place. It doesn't cast spells like spellcasters. It doesn't have any weapon masteries like the martial classes. It's not at all like a half-caster. It's still kind of a class that exists entirely on its own. Getting into the class features, we start out with our core traits. Our primary abilities are Dexterity and Wisdom. We have a D8 hit die, putting us on par with rogues for hit points, and the only truly melee-focused class that has a D8 hit dice. We have proficiency with Strength and Dexterity saving throws, and we get to choose 2 skills from Acrobatics, Athletics, History, Insight, Religion, and Stealth. As far as weapon proficiencies, we get simple weapons and martial weapons with a light property. This means we get things like scimitars now, which is pretty cool. We get no armor training, and unlike in 2014, we start with the same amount of money as the rest of the classes. We also get 1 tool or musical instrument proficiency. And if you missed it, check right up there? I think there, for how I really feel about tool proficiencies. I'm going to put the table up here on screen so you can take a look at it. A couple things to notice are the unarmored movement, the focus points, and starting at 2nd level, we get 1 of those for every level we take in the class, and the martial arts die. It starts at a D6 and scales all the way up to a D12 by 17th level. Those things will go into play as we go through the class. At level 1, we get our first bread and butter feature. Honestly, I love this feature. It gives us a really cool flavor and mechanics that back it up. But this is our martial arts feature. It says, your practice of martial arts give you mastery of combat styles that use your unarmed strike and monk weapons, which are the following: simple melee weapons and martial melee weapons that have the light property. You gain the following benefits while you are unarmed or wielding only monk weapons, and you aren't wearing armor or wearing a shield. Bonus unarmed strike. You can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action. Martial arts die. You can roll 1d6 in place of the normal damage of your unarmed strike or monk weapons. This die changes as you gain monk levels, as shown in the martial arts column on the monk features table. Dexterous attacks. You can use your dexterity modifier instead of your strength modifier for the attack and damage rolls of your unarmed strikes and monk weapons. In addition, when you use the grapple or shove option of your unarmed strike, You can use your dexterity modifier instead of your strength modifier to determine the save DC. This is an amazing feature. Let's break it down. First up, the monk weapons list should look familiar, since it's basically the same weapons you gain proficiency with. Let's look at some of the standout options. If you're doing something to gain weapon masteries through multiclassing or a feat, you should be looking at weapons with the Nick and Vex weapon masteries. I would primarily be looking at the hand axe and the light hammer, since both of those also have the throne property. This will help with the biggest issue monks have, in that they don't have any good ranged options. If you aren't interested in weapon masteries, I'd probably go with the spear. It similarly has the throne property and will allow you to start off with a D8 instead of a D6 from your unarmed strikes. However, if just for aesthetics you want to go unarmed at this level, it's an average of 1 damage difference. And at 5th level, when you get 2 attacks from your action, it's exactly the same. Secondly, we have the bonus unarmed strike, which blessedly is no longer tied to the attack action. So if you need to use your action to talk to someone or interact with something else in your environment, you can still at least get a bonus action unarmed strike off. And lastly, dexterous attacks means that we can use our dex for our monk weapons and unarmed strikes, but also for our save DC when it comes to grappling and shoving. This is a new change in 2024 D&D. Previously, grappling and shoving were what we called opposed skill checks. So basically, whoever initiated the grapple would make an athletics check, and the person trying to avoid it would make an athletics or acrobatics check to try to avoid it. Now, if you initiate a grapple, the person trying to avoid it makes a strength or dexterity saving throw against the DC set by your strength score. But if you're a monk, that DC can be set by your dexterity instead of strength. Very nice. At 2nd level, as with most classes, we get our most iconic feature, Monk's Focus, which says, your focus and martial training allow you to harness a well of extraordinary energy within yourself. This energy is represented by focus points. Your monk level determines the number of points you have, as shown in the focus points column of the monk features table. You can expend these points to enhance or fuel certain monk features. You start knowing 3 such features: Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, and Step of the Wind, each of which is detailed below. When you expend a focus point, it is unavailable until you finish a short or long rest, at the end of which you regain all your expended points. Some features that use focus points require your target to make a saving throw. The save DC equals 8 plus your wisdom modifier and proficiency bonus. Flurry of Blows. You can expend 1 focus point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. Patient Defense. You can take the disengage action as a bonus action. Alternatively, you can expend 1 focus point to take both the disengage and dodge actions as a bonus action. Step of the Wind. You can take the dash action as a bonus action. Alternatively, you can expend 1 focus point to take both the disengage and dash action as a bonus action, and your jump distance is doubled for the turn. Your focus points will fuel most of your features as a monk. It's not as bad as it was in 2014, but at the very least, from here on out, most of your features will require or be improved by focus points. They are an essential part of your class. Also at 2nd level, we get unarmored movement. This says your speed increases by 10 feet while you aren't wearing armor or wielding a shield. This bonus increases when you reach certain monk levels, as shown on the monk features table. Extra movement, especially as a melee martial character, is extremely important. And lastly, still at 2nd level, we are looking at the Uncanny Metabolism feature, which says, when you roll initiative, you can regain all expended focus points. When you do so, roll your martial arts die and regain a number of hit points equal to your monk level plus the number rolled. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Probably the biggest complaint about the monk in the 2014 rule set was they didn't get enough focus points, then called key points, to use their features with. If I had to pick one feature that was the most improved, it would be this one. Getting more uses of all of your features is amazing. At level 3, we get a few more features. First up, as with all classes in the 2024 edition, we get our subclass. Eventually, I guess I'll probably do a deep dive into all of those as well. But for now, just know that almost all of the ones featured in the Player's Handbook for 2024, they are better than their counterparts in 2014. The exception is the Way of Mercy class. That was nerfed a little bit, but it's probably okay. Also at 3rd level, we get Deflect Attacks. This is the beginning of a monk's tanking abilities, and it says, when an attack roll hits you, and its damage includes bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, you can take a reaction to reduce the attack's total damage against you. The reduction equals 1d10 plus your dexterity modifier and monk level. If you reduce the damage to 0, you can expend 1 focus point to redirect some of the attack's force. If you do so, choose a creature you can see within 5 feet of you if it's a melee attack, or a creature you can see within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover if the attack was a ranged attack. That creature must succeed on a dexterity saving throw, or take damage equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die plus your dexterity modifier. The damage is the same type dealt by the attack. This is significantly better than its 2014 counterpart. That only worked on ranged attacks, making it virtually unusable. But this version is amazing. If you're playing a monk in the 2024 rules, you will likely be using this reaction every single round. If you watched my Warrior of Intoxication video, this is why I don't rate monk reaction abilities very highly. It's like the shield spell on a wizard or sorcerer. It's so good that it makes other reaction abilities need to be incredible to even consider using. But unlike a wizard or sorcerer, you don't even need to use a spell slot. You just get to use this every round. At level 4, we get our first feat, and there are a lot that we should be considering as a monk. Speedy, Crusher, Grappler, Mage Slayer, and Weapon Master are all amazing general feats. The only problem is we don't get as many feats as fighters or rogues. But also, since we rely so much on our dexterity, wisdom, and constitution, just focusing on ability score improvements isn't a bad idea either. The other level 4 feature we get is Slow Fall. This says you can take a reaction when you fall to reduce any damage you take from the fall by an amount equal to 5 times your monk level. This means you should be jumping off buildings whenever you can. It's a fun but also very flavorful feature. It's pretty situational, but most classes just get the ASI at this level, so I'm not mad about it. I think that is another general improvement to monks in 2024. They kept the flavorful features, but also paired them with real features to make them feel less bad. At level 5, we get Stunning Strike and Extra Attack. Extra Attack is the basic martial feature at this level. It says that when we take the attack action, we can attack twice instead of once. Stunning Strike, however, is pretty significantly different, and honestly, that's good. Before, Stunning Strike was so much better than every other feature that it just meant monks spent all their focus points on that, and since all your other features use the same resource pool, it meant that you always saved your focus points for this feature. The updated feature now reads, once per turn, when you hit a creature with a monk weapon or an unarmed strike, you can expend 1 focus point to attempt a Stunning Strike. The target must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the target has the stun condition until the start of your next turn. On a successful save, the target's speed is halved until the start of your next turn, and the next attack roll made against the target before then has advantage. The 2 biggest changes is that now you can only attempt it once per turn. But when they succeed on the saving throw, before you got nothing, and now you get a small buff regardless. Stunned is a powerful condition, but noticeably, it's not quite as powerful as it used to be. While stunned, it no longer affects your ability to move. It still prevents actions, reactions, and bonus actions though. This ability also still targets a Constitution save, so monsters are still very likely to succeed. So it feels like it's a side grade instead of a direct buff or nerf. It's still really good though, but will no longer dominate your game like the feature used to do. Another note here at level 5, your martial arts die, so attacks with monk weapons or unarmed strikes, now do 1d8. At level 6, we get Empowered Strikes. This says, whenever you deal damage with your unarmed strike, It can deal your choice of force damage or its normal damage type. Magical, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage don't exist anymore. So this is the next best thing. It's good. Also, here, our unarmored movement increases to a 15-foot bonus. And we get another subclass feature here. At level 7, we get evasion. So whenever we make a dexterity saving throw to avoid damage, we take half damage on a failure and no damage on a success. This is another really good feature. Go fight some red dragons and enjoy taking no fire damage. At level 8, we get another feat or ability score improvement. See my list from earlier in the video. At level 9, we get acrobatic movement, which says while you aren't wearing armor or wearing a shield, you gain the ability to move along vertical surfaces and across liquids on your turn without falling during the movement. This is one of my favorite abilities. I do get the complaints that it's pretty situational, but I really like it. I feel like the situations that it comes up in seem to come up a lot in game. Level 10. This is a big one. This is heightened focus, and it says, your flurry of blows, patient defense, and step of the wind gain the following benefits. Flurry of blows. You can expend 1 focus point to use flurry of blows and make 3 unarmed strikes with it instead of 2. Patient defense. When you expend a focus point to use patient defense, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die. Step of the wind. When you expend a focus point to use step of the wind, you can choose a willing creature within 5 feet of yourself that is large or smaller. You move the creature with you until the end of your turn. The creature's movements doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. Honestly, I love the progression we're seeing. At level 2, when the ability comes online, we get a base level, something you can do with no resources, and something that makes each of these a little bit better. And now, at level 10, we're getting another improvement to each of these things. I love it. The feature is good enough, though, that I feel like it might actually come 1 level early. Most other classes get a feature that scales like this at level 11. I'm not complaining, but just from a game design and balance place, this probably should have been level 11, not 10. But also, we're still not done at level 10 because we also get self-restoration. This says, through sheer force of will, you can remove one of the following conditions from yourself at the end of each of your turns: charmed, frightened, or poisoned. In addition, foregoing food and drink doesn't give you levels of exhaustion. This is also really good. And speaking of game design, I absolutely love this feature. Too many features in this game are big red buttons that scream no. Fighter's Indomitable, the Mage Slayer feat, Legendary Resistance, Counterspell. These are really powerful features that I always encourage people to take and use because they are so strong. But they also shut down player fun. And I'm including DMs in that because when it comes down to it, they're players too. This feature says you get 1 round. So you get to see the terrible thing the DM had planned. The powerful feature gets to get used. But you also get a free way to get out of it. I absolutely love that from a game design perspective. And finally, still at level 10, our unarmored movement goes up to 20. Speaking of level 11 though, here we get another subclass feature and our martial arts die goes up to a D10. At level 12, we get another feat or ability score improvement. Level 13, we get another amazing defensive feature in Deflect Energy. This is an improvement to our earlier Deflect Attacks feature and says that we can use that feature regardless of the damage type. It's a solid feature. Level 14 is Discipline Survivor. This says, your physical and mental discipline grant you proficiency in all saving throws. Additionally, whenever you make a saving throw and fail, you can expend 1 focus point to re-roll it, and you must use the new roll. This is another incredible defensive feature, and will do a lot for your survivability. We also get another improvement to our unarmed movement up to 25 feet. At level 15, we get Perfect Focus. This says, when you roll initiative and don't use Uncanny Metabolism, you regain expended focus points until you have 4 if you have 3 or fewer. This used to be the Monk's Capstone feature. It's okay, but honestly at this point, you have a lot of focus points, and hopefully you won't need this feature very often. Level 16, we get another feat. And level 17, we get our final subclass feature, and our martial arts die increases for the last time to 1d12. At level 18, we get our final unarmored movement upgrade to 30 feet. And we also get superior defenses, which says, at the start of your turn, you can expend 3 focus points to bolster yourself against harm for 1 minute or until you have the incapacitated condition. During that time, you have resistance to all damage except force damage. This is another really good feature. I love that these late game features all do a lot to improve our survivability. Level 19 is our epic boon feat. These are all really good and they're all really flavorful and very powerful. And finally, we get our capstone. And it's honestly one of the best capstones in the game. It's called Body and Mind, and it says, you have developed your body and mind to new heights. Your dexterity and wisdom scores increase by 4 to a maximum of 25. It's so good. This will increase your damage and attack roll significantly, but also your armor class, saving throws, and almost every single thing you do as a monk. It's incredible. This will put your stunning strike save DC up to 21, and your armor class up to 24. This is what we were asking for when we asked for 20th level features. Looking at you, Ranger. Overall, I love the monk design from this edition. They really did a lot to improve the quality of life for all of these features. Honestly, the whole reason I wanted to start off with the monk was, to me, in a lot of ways, they are the baseline now for 2024. They are unquestionably the most improved class. They don't have a whole lot of customization, but the features you get here all feel powerful and flavorful. So when we look at a class later with spells or maneuvers or invocations or extra feats or other things that are more customizable, we can compare how those features feel to how these features feel. So this has been my baseline take for the new classes in 2024. If you enjoyed the video, I would love it if you would consider liking or subscribing to the channel, and tell me what you think the new baseline class is for D&D 2024 in the comments below. Thanks so much for stopping by, and until next time, bye. Whenever you bonus action, since it's basically the same weapons that you got from Efficient Suite, it's fun, but also very flavorful. It's fun, but also a very flavorful feature. Ooh, flavorful. Extra attack is the basic that now, whoa. No,